Okay, folks, I'm gonna do this for some clout, basically. Also, I want to genuinely see how this guy is gonna handle this. I'm gonna mind my P's and Q's. I'm not gonna go too off the reservation, I think. But we're gonna talk about PhilosophyTube's brand new spanking video, Anti-Semitism in Analysis. And let's see what he's gonna talk about and what he won't talk about. Because obviously, I think it is very true, though, is what they don't talk about speaks more than what they do talk about. Because a lot of the time, people repeat themselves over and over, and that groups of people will say the same things over and over. But it's about what they don't talk about, what sort of nuance can be said. So let's go ahead and respond to this. And like I say, we're going to be very careful. So let's go ahead and go ahead and play it. Let's do it. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Forgot one thing. Forgot one thing here. There we are. All right. Let's do it. Here we go, folks.
Hi, welcome to PhilosophyTube. I make videos teaching people about philosophy, and normally they look like this.
I'm not going to make a comment on, I could make a comment, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say he looks like he's about to do a video from the 1980s. He just needs a little bit more eye makeup, but that's the only thing I'm going to say. Let's continue forward. Okay.
But seeing as how I'm quarantined inside my flat, I thought it'd be a good chance to talk about something a bit more serious. We're going to learn about anti-Semitism. I'm going to teach you what it is, what it does, how you can spot it, and I'm going to conclude by showing you that if you really want to tackle it, you've also got to think about white supremacy. We are going to have to talk about some pretty serious stuff and some contemporary political issues and parties. I will do my best to cite all of my sources in the top right and to remain as impartial as I can.
I'm not going to be a spurg about your sources. What I'm concerned about is what you're going to say and what you aren't going to say. Okay.
I will obviously fail because I'm a human, but I will do my best for you if you will do your best to please keep my comments section a zone of chill vibes only.
And yet you chose a topic like this, which of course is going to anger everybody.
I'm very grateful to all of the Jewish script consultants that I...
Once again, the thing is that why would you... You're going to take everybody off. And once again, let me make sure for the record here. Don't go to this guy's channel, just in case. I mean, I think it should go without saying, but just be a CYA moment. Don't mess with them. Don't try to, bait anybody. I know probably no one's going to see this, but, in other words, and here we go. Here we got a funny joke coming. So I cut part of the joke off, but let's hear more.
Hired to help me with today's episode. And if you find it useful, why not share it around? Or support me at patreon.com.
Ha ha ha! Hilarious.
/PhilosophyTube. It's going to be a very dry, very educational video. There's going to be no theatrics, no fancy costumes, and absolutely no cross-dressing. I am kidding! Welcome to the show!
It's hilarious. Okay. So from the French here, I'm going to make the assumption that he is going to be using more of Jean-Paul Sartre's work. And for those that don't know, Jean-Paul Sartre is, of course, a philosopher. I haven't really wanted to read more of his work, but I guess he has books like Nausea, this and that. He's much more about existentialism, I think, as far as I know, and is much more about, what could go on in the cosmos, this and that, and how we're just, little beings and everything else. And of course, he was in a French labor camp during the Second World War and saw the anti-Semitism that his native Frenchmen participated in it. So I'm really trying to be honest here, but let's continue.
Mesdames, Messieurs, et les autres, je m'appelle Mademoiselle E, maîtresse de la résistance.
Ah, yes. Okay. So, what? Okay, go ahead.
Je voudrais vous raconter
What can I even
une
say?
histoire. Il y a deux choses que nous, les Français, faisons
very
très
well.
bien.
And the second is scandal. In 1894, a French army officer named Captain Alfred Dreyfus was charged.
Oh, we're going to start here. Okay, so let's stop right there because he's going to talk about the Dreyfus Affair. Is he going to talk about how the Dreyfus Affair helped to influence none other than what is his name? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my brain is completely gone. Let me see here. Theodore Herzl. There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Google. Okay, so he's not going to. So is he going to talk about Theodore Herzl? Let's find out.
With selling military secrets to Germany. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a letter to the German military attaché written in Dreyfus's own hand. But Dreyfus didn't confess. There was also the problem of motive. He was rich and didn't need payoffs from Germany, and he liked being in the army. Why would he betray France? And the answer from a lot of people seemed to be parce que il est un juif. Whilst Dreyfus sat in prison awaiting trial, the right-wing newspapers got a hold of the story and went to town with it. One of their big talking points in recent years had been the idea that Jewish people couldn't be trusted to be in the army, that they weren't really loyal to the nation, and Dreyfus seemed to confirm that. When the trial came, many people worried it could be the beginning of war with Germany. The courtroom was closed to the public, and a lot of what went on there has only very recently been declassified. Dreyfus was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment on Devil's Island, a fantastically named prison colony off the coast of South America that made Alcatraz look like summer camp. But while Dreyfus...
Well, you could mention that was French Guiana, but okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Was off on Devil's Island, his family started digging, launching a public campaign to establish his innocence that made them very unpopular. An army intelligence colonel named Georges Picquart opened an investigation and became convinced not only that Dreyfus was innocent, but that the real spy was a different man, Major Charles Esterhazy. Picquart submitted the results of his investigation to his superiors and was mysteriously reassigned to Tunisia, but not before giving his findings to Dreyfus's lawyers. The lawyers and family started a campaign to bring Esterhazy to trial. Esterhazy had gambling debts, and a former lover of his came forward with letters showing that he hated the French army, so there was motive. The country began to polarize between those who supported Dreyfus and those who didn't. Esterhazy was court-martialed, again with a great deal of press attention, but acquitted. In celebration, the anti-Dreyfusards kicked off a wave of anti-Semitic riots across the country. Esterhazy left the army and went to England, mais attendez, il y a plus. The writer, Émile Zola, was so incensed by this that he wrote a famous letter in the newspaper titled J'accuse, in which he said this whole thing is a conspiracy, Dreyfus is innocent, and the army are covering it up. He named names and basically said, si je me trompe, poursuivez-moi. J'accuse became a
You know, just because you can speak French doesn't mean you should. All right. I'm really trying to find some,
huge deal, even internationally, which was exactly what Zola wanted, because it meant the army couldn't sweep the Dreyfus affair under the rug. If they didn't sue him, they'd have... have looked guilty, and another trial meant more lawyers and more investigators sniffing around. In the end, Zola was charged with libel, all the while being pilloried in the right-wing press as an intellectual trying to undermine the will of the French people. The cry, "Death to the Jews,"
Ah, yes. Hannah Arendt. I should have known when I saw in the background the origins of totalitarianism. Yeah, Hannah Arendt would later be accused of anti-Semitism herself because of the judges who took over, who were in Israel, who were prosecuting Adolf Eichmann in 1962, because she noticed how a lot of the judges were, of course, Ashkenazi Jews who would come over during, sometime the Aliyah and a little bit before the Aliyah. So this has to be brought up, of course, how Hannah Arendt was definitely a little bit of a mixed bag, if you will, on how she was seen. But anywho.
Swept the country. In Lyon, Rennes, Nantes, Tours, Bordeaux, Clermont-Ferrand, and Marseille, everywhere, in fact, anti-Semitic riots broke out and were invariably traceable to the same source. Popular indignation broke out everywhere on the same day at precisely the same hour. Under the leadership of Guérin, the mob took on a military complexion. Anti-Semitic shock troops appeared on the streets and made certain that every pro-Dreyfus meeting should end in bloodshed. The complicity of the police was everywhere patent. Guérin there is Jules Guérin, French journalist, founder of the Ligue Antisémitique and editor of the newspaper L'Anti-Juif. So, no prizes for guessing what he was about. He was a fascist. Nobody would invent the word fascism for a few years, and it was still emerging, but looking back now, the anti-Dreyfusards were very obviously proto-fascists. They hated communists, they were very conservative, and they fed on and mobilized anti-Semitism. A lot of leftists and liberals had quite different reactions to the Dreyfus affair. A lot of liberals were outraged at what appeared to be a gross miscarriage of justice and rallied around Dreyfus out of a genuine sense of belief in the system. But initially, at least, a lot of leftists were like, "Non, vous me dites que le système judiciaire est inutile corrompu."
Watching you at?
Watching any what? The All right, here we go.
De la classe dirigeante? Pas de merde, Sherlock. What is very significant is that everybody was using the topic of Jews and Judaism to think about themselves. The Dreyfus affair was like the French equivalent of the O.J. Simpson trial, a media sensation that bitterly divided the nation and seemed to be a struggle between two competing visions of society. Zola, the man who wrote J'accuse, was tried for libel, convicted, appealed, retried, fled the country, and convicted again, but the heat was on. Several people involved in the conspiracy started to crack, including Esterhazy, who confessed that he wrote the original spy letter and had secretly been in touch with the head of the investigation against Dreyfus the entire time. And one of Colonel Picquart's subordinates confessed to sabotaging his investigation.
The thing is, I've let this go on quite a while here, so that I better make some some actual commentary. The thing is that once again, this is kind of the idea that only one side has the truth. That only, the leftists at the time didn't know and the liberals were outraged, but ultimately, we're ultimately the ones that have the truth. And that doesn't sit well with me. But yeah, let's continue.
A conspiracy was coming to light that seemed to go all the way up to the war minister. So in 1890...
let's go ahead and let's just speed this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's do it.
After years on Devil's Island, Dreyfus was brought back to France for another trial that was even more of a media sensation. His lawyer was shot in the street, and in the end, Dreyfus was found guilty again. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for treason with extenuating circumstances. And then, the president of France suddenly pardoned him and said there would be total amnesty for everyone involved in the conspiracy. This was the last-ditch attempt to just make it all go away, and historians now agree that Dreyfus was, from the beginning, completely innocent. But it still went on. In 1906, the Court of Appeal officially acquitted Dreyfus. After all, why should you accept a pardon if you haven't done anything? But the Court of Appeal didn't actually have the power to do that. They should have ordered a third trial, so technically he was never acquitted, and it just went on and on, so much so that even in 1931, after a world war had been fought, a play about the Dreyfus affair had to be shut down because the audience kept fighting. What the story of the Dreyfus affair shows is that anti-Semitism is never just about picking on an individual Jewish person. It's about the whole of society. It set France on fire, literally in a lot of places. And you may already know that it was only the appetizer to what came next.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Come on.
You see, the reason I dressed up like this, besides the fact that it's fun, is I know this video will eventually make its way to the neo-Nazi bit of the internet.
Here we go.
And they are not the people I'm trying to reach. The hardcore anti-Semites, or the people who don't think anti-Semitism is really a problem, will already have lost patience and clicked away, which means I can talk to you. Hi. If you're still here, you probably care about stopping anti-Semitism. A lot of people and organizations in recent years have worried about how to spot it. And certainly, there are some classics that it'll help to be aware of. Now, that's what I call anti-Semitism. 2 CDs of the most famous tropes and stereotypes. Disloyalty to the nation. Greed.
Hold on. Let me see what he used there. It's very slick, very quick. Let's see here.
If you're still here, you probably care about stopping anti-Semitism. A lot of people and organizations in recent years have worried about how to spot it. And certainly, there are some classics that it'll help to be aware of. Now, that's what
Okay. American Jewish Council Glossary of Anti-Semitic Terms. Okay, here we go. Terms, phrases. I can't read that. Okay, all conspiracy. I think that's what it is. Okay, anyway.
I call anti-Semitism.
Yeah, conspiracies. Okay.
2 CDs of the most famous tropes and stereotypes. Disloyalty to the nation. Greed.
Disloyalty to the nation.
Drinking the blood of Christians.
Echoes. The thing is that let's be practical here for a moment. Okay, can we? Nobody uses echoes anymore. Okay, the only ones that use it are using it ironically. It's like go on Twitter. Apart from boomers like Varg, who continue to use the echoes because he doesn't know any better. Most of the folks that actually use the echoes unironically are usually Jews themselves. They use it as a badge of honor. Now, I don't think that's anti-Semitic to say that. I'm saying that as the truth, is that, once again, this is old stuff. Lizard people is actually archons, and that's actually, oh my God. I'm you know what? I'm not going to defend David Icke. I'm not going to sit here and defend David Icke, but it's like, you got to dig a little bit deeper, can you? Okay.
Globalists, the Smiling Merchant, the New World Order, exaggerated.
Okay, Smiling Merchant, Illuminati, New World is Illuminati is also for Freemasons as well. So I mean, if you, using Jew as a verb, exaggerated facial features, denying the Holocaust. All right, continue.
Facial features, and who could forget the classic denying the Holocaust? Now.
So you brought up, of course, David Irving, who, like I say, I'm not going to sit here and defend him, but what? Okay, let's continue.
That's what I call anti-Semitism. Out now. But if we get very focused on what anti-Semitism looks like, then there's a danger that we'll go, oh, nobody's saying the bad words, so we've solved it. Et malheureusement, ce n'est pas vrai. To fight anti-Semitism, we not only have to know what it looks like, but also what it does. Alors, after World War II, a lot of thinkers tried to answer the question, why Jews? The Nazis persecuted lots of people, but why did anti-Semitism play such a key role in their philosophy? And, side question, how come so many people were willing to help them? Wherever the Nazis went, they found a lot of folks, a lot of liberals even, ready and willing to collaborate. À ma grande honte, de nombreux Français gentils ont collaboré. The French police, in particular, helped the SS hunt down French Jews and put them on trains for deportation.
You gotta, once again, you need to explore that a little bit more here. You need to explore the difference between Vichy France and the rest of France, and you need to get involved with learning about the I'm just gonna say Maquis, but I was gonna say the okay. I'm really trying to think of it here, because it's a lot of words like Maquis or Marseillaise in French. I'm really trying to think of it now. Vichy France. And really, I'm sorry, my brain just doesn't work. I'm sorry, folks. Okay, French Algeria. Of course, the guy was Philippe Pétain, Pierre Laval. I wonder if he'll bring up Pierre Laval. He probably won't. But let me think here. Military collaborationists. Stanley Hoffman. Okay, let's see here. Macron. I'm really trying to think of it now. There's a police force. Does it say up here? I probably passed right by it. I just can't think of it. Okay. Government. It's really going to bug me. Let's see here. Government responsibility, collaboration. Okay. Leon Blum, Charles Maurras. Revolution Nationale. Eugenics policies. Let me see here. Oh, milice. Why did I say, milice? That's what it is. Okay, so the milice helped with that. Now, of course, like I say, people are going to say, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? It's like the regular French police did it too. You're trying to obfuscate. No. I'm adding context. I just want to make sure, Listen to the audio file. Okay. Yeah, we can just do that. Yeah. You want to just do that? All right. Okay. We'll just hear the audio. Okay. We'll do that. All right. We'll just try to do that.
So in 1948, French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre tried to get inside the minds of bigots with his famous essay, Anti-Semite and Jew.
Yes.
Sartre famously claimed that anti-Semitism...
So once again, we have to bring up Jean-Paul Sartre. Now, once again, people are going to give me heck for saying this, but Jean-Paul Sartre, of course, had orgies with his students, this and that. I mean, you can take it for what it is, and of course, people will say, well, that has nothing to do with it. You're doing like people are saying about... I'm just saying is that you have to question these things. Okay, go ahead.
Is a fundamentally irrational passion. Anti-Semites say things for which there's no evidence, or they contradict what they said 5 minutes ago, or they just flat out don't make sense. He talks about a classmate of his who failed an exam and blamed the Jewish candidates, even though he also admitted he hadn't.
So we're doing, so we're using Adorno and Horkheimer. What was the quote? I think I do have an Adorno book, I think, somewhere in here, maybe. Okay. You gotta be slick, because they, they'll just show it for a brief minute or whatever, and then they'll sneak it away. So let's, Okay, there we go. Adorno and Horkheimer, The Dialectic of Enlightenment. Okay, that's a pretty famous book, I think. I'm not even gonna say multicultural Marxism. I'm just gonna say Adorno and Horkheimer do have some very good ideas. At least they do talk about consumerist culture as well. But I think a lot of Marxists would generally say that Adorno and Horkheimer were revisionists. A lot of people say they had to be. Who knows? I'm just saying is that we're trying to be very delicate here. That's all I'm saying. We're being very delicate. All right, let's continue. Once again, we got this whole. Okay, yeah, there's Nora Horkheimer. Thank you to Katie Montgomery for these. Okay, go ahead. Wait a minute. What does this have to do with anti-Semitism? You're bringing up transgender stuff. What is it? You've lost your point. So continue. Once again, transgenderism is not part of anti-Semitism. I mean, look, if we want to all be woke and, talk about intersectionality, you would understand that those may be connected in some way, but you kind of have to find some relevant point. This has no relevance, sir. I'm sorry. Your allocution would be thrown out. I think if I were a judge, I'd be like, what the hell does this have to do with anything? Continue. Oh boy! I mean, what is this? A Disney movie? I mean, are you going to try to say, "Oh, well, they grew out of it"? Come on. Okay, go ahead. So once again, let's kind of do a brief recap here. Okay, so he of course brought up the fact of of the Papillon trial, or the trial of Captain can't remember it now. Anyway, and of course what he doesn't bring up in that is he doesn't talk about the fact that Theodore Herzl was hugely influential in that. And of course, Theodore Herzl, let's see here. But yeah, basically, this is not. And of course, he used Hannah Arendt as well, like I say, who was very judgmental of the judges for Adolf Eichmann's trial. So she herself would be guilty of, anti-Semitism if we were talking about, woke culture or comparing things to today. So. Okay. That's fair, no. That's fair. I know you're already gone, but good luck to you, sir. Like I say, I will, I have consumed plenty of cringe, so it doesn't really affect me as much. You have to be able to cut through this here. So here we go. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, there we go. Let's do it.
Earlier this year, it emerged that several right-wing members of the Labour Party deliberately tried to sabotage the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn in several ways, including not investigating complaints of anti-Semitism. They were happy for anti-Semitism and other forms of racism.
A long night. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with
if it made the left wing of the party look bad.
with the sources.
And I'm sure if you ask those saboteurs, they wouldn't say it's because we hate Jewish people. And yet, there was a tacit understanding that the safety of Jewish people wasn't the number one priority. The current leadership has also been criticised for not really doing much about those saboteurs, and Sartre doesn't have an explanation for what anti-Semitism does for those people, who are really a much bigger group. The other drawback to the individualistic approach is we can all get very worried about who are the bad people. I don't want to be seen next to the bad people, or people will think I'm one of the bad people, and that can limit the sorts of discussions we can have. This can especially be a problem if we are criticising the Israeli government.
Here we go. Okay, let's continue on here. Now, what you could have done if you had written this better, like I say, I'm going to continue to harp on this point. If you had done a little bit better research, you would find out that Theodor Herzl wrote the book The Jewish State, Judenstaat. At that time, he was talking about making deals with the Ottoman Turks to get Israel and to get that land back so that they could start what would become Israel.
Somewhere in YouTube headquarters, someone just slammed the demonetize button. I know. We're going to have to go there, and it's going to be a little tense. Mais ne t'inquiète pas, c'est PhilosophyTube. Tu es entre les bombes. Voilà les lumières. Voilà le costume. Voilà la musique lo-fi. Obviously, people need to be able to criticize what the Israeli government does sometimes. People need to be able to criticize what any government does. It's kind of important for democracy. But we want to do it in a way that isn't anti-Semitic and doesn't sneer every Jewish person, many of whom have their own criticisms of the Israeli government. Israel sometimes says that they act on behalf of all Jewish people, but most Jewish people aren't Israeli, and not all Israelis are Jews. Unfortunately, as many Jewish writers have said, accusations of anti-Semitism or of being a self-hating Jew can sometimes be used to shut down criticisms of Israeli policy. So I want to recommend a really good pamphlet called The Past Didn't Go Anywhere by April Rose.
Now, is he going to mention any sort of bit of the history of Israel? Is he going to mention about Theodor Herzl? Let's see. I don't think he will.
Leon Breckley, in which she says the way to do it is to be specific about what you are criticizing. To say that Israel has an ongoing history of human rights violations, whatever you think of that, is specific and clear. To say Israel is the root of all the evil in the world, or to only focus on Israeli human rights abuses, kind of seems like your problem is actually the Jewish people. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, is a lobbying group in the US who lobby the US government to do things like send military aid to Israel. To say AIPAC gives US politicians incentives to support militaristic policies that I disagree with is clear and specific. To say the Israel lobby are controlling the government, comprenez-vous la différence? We could even do this.
Oh boy. So we're going to see, this is why we have to be careful about wordplay. Yeah, go ahead.
Same thing with Zionism. Zionism is the idea that Jewish people should have their own country. Though, of course, how it should be run is another debate. A Zionist person might say, look, Jews have been persecuted all over the world.
Once again, you know what we should do is, if you were a little bit smarter, my friend, I'm sorry, I'm going to go straight at you here, but I'm going to try to be constructive here. What you could do is you could be talking about, people like Kafka. You know, there were two lines where there were the socialist-minded Jews, and then there were the Zionist Jews. So there was this through line, and then you have people like Abba Kovner. And Abba Kovner was a very talented poet living in Lithuania, in Vilnius. And when Operation Barbarossa took place and the German Wehrmacht ran through Lithuania, he was put into a ghetto. This is before the concentration camps came up. And he broke out due to the United Partisans Organization, or UPO. He was a Jewish partisan, and in a lot of ways he was a Zionist, but he was also a socialist. This is one of the deeper things you have to learn. There is a difference between Mapai and Mapam. Mapai, M-A-P-A-I, was the more standard, was called socialist, quote unquote, but was more social democratic. That was the party that David Ben-Gurion was a part of, who was there with I'm trying to think of his name now. I've forgotten. Once again, I'm sorry, folks. My boomer mind. Here we go. Chaim Weizmann. There we go. Yeah, Chaim Weizmann. Chaim Weizmann, of course, was the president of Israel. I'm gonna spare you a lot of the details, but I will say is that there was a difference between Mapai and Mapam. And they promoted, that Mapam promoted socialism. This is why Stalin, at least in my view anyway, supported the creation of Israel in 1948. So there are a lot of details that need to be talked about, and there's a lot more practical stuff here that he isn't going to talk about. He's using more vague intellectuals. He's not actually talking about actual historical events. But yeah, let's continue.
Well, in 1938, German Jews had their citizenship taken away, and there was this big international thing called the Evian Conference, where all the other nations of the world refused to take the Jewish refugees, except the Dominican Republic. Buen trabajo, muchachos. As a result, Jewish people got stuck in Germany, and we know what happened next. So we need a strong country under majority Jewish control to make sure that never happens again. And in response, an anti-Zionist person might say something like, okay, cool, but did you have to put the country there? Because there were already people living there, and you can't just kill them. I mean, Israel came about because in 1917, Britain did a colonialism and invaded Palestine and supported the Zionist project, at least in part because they wanted to get rid of the Jewish people in Britain.
Okay, what you need to do is, other than talking about the white paper and talking about the Balfour Declaration, you need to dig a little bit deeper and talk about Ze'ev Yablonsky. Ze'ev Yablonsky helped to create Haganah, which became a bigger umbrella organization, which was a pro-Zionist group, which was started in 1921, I want to say. Let's go ahead and look that up right quick. There we are. Oh, Jabotinsky. Why do I keep on saying Yablonsky? Maybe it comes out easier. Yeah, Ze'ev Jabotinsky. Yeah, so Ze'ev Jabotinsky. I think that's showing up there. Okay. So Ze'ev Jabotinsky. And I know, it's Wikipedia. I know. I don't have a book right in front of me here, but okay. Revisionist Zionist leader. He established several Jewish organizations in Palestine, including Betar, Hatzohar, and Irgun. We'll come up to Irgun once this, and of course Likud as well. Now, if you were, like I say, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of historical events that need to be talked about, which he's not going to talk about. But let's continue on.
They were like, oh, well, I suppose we'll just take all of the Jews and send them out to Palestine. And it wasn't a universally popular move. So in 1948, they were like, oh, it appears we buggered it. Is that the king calling me? Sorry, I have to go, everybody. And then the Palestinians were like, can we have our land back?
Let me try to wrap this up, because now I just saw that Steve 1989 had 2 uploads. Oh, boy. Okay, let's try to wrap this up.
And the UN went, oh, but that's Israel now, though. I mean, we've already had all the maps printed. It's a wonder I'm not invited to teach more history classes. Or hey, maybe a Zionist person could debate an anarchist, somebody who doesn't think anybody should have a country, right? The point is...
We don't care about anarchism. Anarchism has never been seen. You know what? That's a whole other discussion. And it's just going to be me. Yeah, okay.
There is room there for legit, sensible discussion that does not dehumanize anybody. But watch out. Wherever there are people criticizing Israel in a legit way, you will find others sneaking anti-Semitism in. The official title of the meeting will be Free Speech on Israel. And if you go to the meeting, you'll find people openly denying the Holocaust. That is a real thing that really happened. Or you'll find them saying Zionists.
Hope not hate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
And what they really mean is Jews. Which brings us neatly on to... We have a saying in the French Resistance, and all across the left, anti-Semitism is the socialism of fools. One theory that's been put forward to explain anti-Semitism is that sometimes religious Jews formed quite insular communities. Unlike Christianity, where there's a big emphasis on conversion, one of the core tenets of Judaism is that the Jews are the chosen people. So maybe they kept to themselves a lot and had their own way of doing things that just made them easy to view as outsiders. Everywhere they wanted to remain Jews, and everywhere they were granted the privilege of establishing a state within a state. By virtue of these privileges and exemptions and immunity from taxes, they would soon rise above the general condition of the citizens and municipalities where they resided. They had better opportunities for trade and accumulation of wealth, whereby they excited jealousy and hatred. But it is kind of hard to avoid forming an insular community if you might be killed for being in the main one. This theory seems to be blaming Jewish people for their own oppression. You know who else forms religious insular communities? Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, both of whom have faced violent persecution in the past, but I at least have never heard anyone go, well, those Mormons, they put a target on their own backs. It's also just flat out not true. To say that Jewish people in general had more opportunities for anything is pretty obviously false across most of history. In medieval Europe, it was a sin for Christians to lend money with interest. They called it usury. And in a lot of places, it was illegal for Jews to own property or do many of the jobs that other people did. So if you were Jewish and you needed to eat, money lending was one of the few jobs you were allowed in. And if you're a Christian lord who wants to tax his people without becoming unpopular, you can allow some Jews to lend money to them at interest, and then just tax the hell out of the Jews. So a small number of Jewish people did become quite wealthy and powerful for that reason, but the vast majority were second-class citizens at best. But the association...
Oh, so he has to admit that... Oh, boy. Okay.
Between Jewish people and money stuck. There's an old anti-Semitic stereotype of Jews being greedy, and anti-Semites throughout history have exploited this trope. Usually whenever there's an economic downturn, like in the 1980s, family farms across the Midwest began to fail because big business was crushing the little guy, and neo-Nazis used it as a recruitment drive by telling the farmers it was the fault of Jewish bankers. The
April Rosenblum. Okay.
greedy Jewish banker thing ties into another anti-Semitic trope, the conspiracy theory that world finances and media are secretly run by a clandestine cabal of extremely powerful Jews bent on controlling the world in order
ABC
to...
glossary. Yeah, you don't need... Yeah, go ahead.
Put a pin in that one. We'll come back to it later. For now, it's enough to note that both of these myths are clearly exposed as false. Most of the wealth on planet Earth really is in the hands of a tiny number of people who really do have way too much control. But
Oh boy. So once again, you kind of prove the point. So it's like, well, it's true that a small portion of people control, most of the population, but
among those people, qui recevoir bientôt des coups de chevaux reproche, Jews are actually a very small percentage. The biggest slice of millionaires and billionaires are white Christians. So if you're looking for a group that's secretly controlling the world, voila. And most Jews, as most people on planet Earth,
well, there's more to it than that, but all right.
Have very little. A lot of people are frustrated by the daily grind of living under capitalism. And if you're a sneaky right-winger, you can say, hey, that frustration you're feeling is a race thing. The industrialist Henry Ford paid for 500,000 copies of an anti-Semitic book to be distributed in the United States, claiming that elite Jews were secretly planning to take over the world. Did he really believe that? Who knows? But what anti-Semitism did for him was conveniently divert people's frustrations towards an elite that didn't include Henry Ford. In one of his 2016 campaign ads, Donald Trump promised to address the global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. Mais oui, nous devons abolir ce système, Comrade Trump. But as that line was spoken, pictures of Jewish people like George Soros were flashed up on the screen. And in the years since, that global power structure, the one that made Trump rich in the first place and supported his campaign, has not been addressed. This happens every time right-wing political forces rediscover anti-Semitism. What it does is mislead people. The Nazis promised that by getting rid of the Jews, they would make Germany so much more prosperous, and a lot of money and property was confiscated from them. But the average person didn't see any of that. It all went to 1%.
Dorno and Horkheimer again. Here we go.
The Nazis also banned trade unions, privatized large sections of the economy, and murdered a lot of socialists. Fascists always talk a big game about being economically radical and taking on the elites, but it never seems to work. And the reason it doesn't work is kind of obvious. Economic problems are not caused by Jewishness.
Yep, but once again, hold on. Are we gonna talk about the Soviet Union too, or are we gonna, let's be equal opportunity here?
Or greed, or selfishness, or billionaires naming their baby. Mes enfants, le problème est le capitalisme. But as the old saying goes, l'antisémitisme est le socialisme des imbéciles. One very influential thinker who picked up this idea was Hannah Arendt in her book On the Origins of Totalitarianism. She was still trying to answer this question, why Jews? And she says in Weimar Germany, there were some economic problems, and she claims a lot of the middle management economic positions, like banking, were filled by Jews.
Once again, it's interesting that you'll say, oh, well, mostly it's white Christians that are the problem. And of course, you won't name one of them. I mean, other than Elon Musk and something like that, it's like, okay, yeah, all right, fine. But you would probably... You know what? Fine. I'll just accept that point. Let's go ahead and continue.
So, when things turned bad, they got a lot of the blame, even sometimes from leftists.
The general figure of the banker bore definitive Jewish traits for historical reasons. Thus, the leftist movement of the lower middle class and the entire propaganda against banking capital turned more or less anti-Semitic.
Now, socialism fools can be a useful idea. Again, I don't want to say no, I want to say yes and. And this passage in particular kind of sums up some of the problems with Arendt's analysis. She says that because some of the bankers were Jewish, when there were economic problems, people blamed the Jews. But she hasn't really answered the question, why Jews? Why did people blame the relatively tiny number of Jewish bankers rather than all the bankers? You see what I mean?
Good propaganda. I'll answer the question for you. Good propaganda. Simple as. And of course, as we say from another Jewish man that we recently went over, propaganda by Mr. Edward Bernays, who of course was the nephew of Dr. Freud. Let's continue.
Anti-Semitism is circular. In order for it to work, people must already have been anti-Semitic. And an even bigger hole in the theory is that fairly often anti-Semitism occurs when there are no Jewish people in positions of economic power. Like, does anyone really think the Nazis murdered Jewish children because they were worried they might be bankers? A lot of the 20th century anti-Semitic propaganda portrayed Jews not as rich elites, but as a poor, feral underclass. In medieval Spain, the Spanish Inquisition expelled all of the Jews in the country. And they did not chill out afterwards. They became even more obsessed with detecting secret Jews. People in medieval Spain were seeing Jews hiding in the cereal. I mean, how do you manage to be so anti-Semitic that you're anti-Semitic against people who aren't even there?
She fixes them.
Get your fix me!
So parts are Jewish. What parts in a part are Jewish? Spark plugs?
Spark plugs. Jews invented spark plugs to control global traffic. Arendt didn't like Sartre's focus on bigots because it denies Jewish people's responsibility, covert, for their persecution. She says Jews really did occupy positions of economic power, and so they were resented. But as we've seen, overwhelmingly, they did not occupy those positions of power. The Nazis had their own academics who did studies like, oh, look how many Jews are rich and powerful. And you might think, well, yeah, those guys are probably going to be pretty biased, right? But multiple times throughout Origins, Arendt cites Nazis. She had a lot of opportunities throughout the 50s and 60s to revise these ideas, and did not.
Here we go. Well, at least you're honest about that you finally admit that Hannah Arendt was, yeah. All right.
So it kind of seems like Arendt is also blaming Jewish people for their own oppression, which is weird, because she was Jewish. She was even arrested by the Gestapo. So we're in weirdly complicated territory now. And before I take us out of it, which I will, let's talk about Karl Marx's anti-Semitism. Oh, that's right, baby. This is a call-out video now, and I don't do call-outs, so we are going to need a different kind of YouTuber.
What up, YouTube? It's your boy Ian N. Dribble, the Dribbleator, bringing you all the latest drama from the YouTube creator scene. So pretty much there's this guy called Karl Marx. He's a leftist Antifa type. I've been watching his videos for a few years now, checking out his tweets on twitter.com.
Okay. Let's just
to be given
skip
citizenship
ahead.
rights in Germany. And Bauer said, no, they shouldn't, because Germany is a Christian country. But here's the twist around. Bauer was a massive atheist. He didn't think Germany should have any kind of religion anyway. Basically, he was like, why are the Jewish people always bringing identity politics into it? It's about religion versus atheism. That's the fundamental conflict at the heart of modern society. If Bauer had gone to university in the 21st century, he would have stayed alone in his room on Friday nights drinking whiskey and watching Christopher Hitchens compilations like I did. So, knowing that context,
That's just sad.
and if we read the rest of what Marx wrote, we could maybe charitably interpret this as saying
And oh, it's so funny. Oh, I make fun of my own cringe. All right.
that the fundamental conflict in society isn't religion versus atheism, but class conflict, a theme that Marx obviously wrote a lot more about later. We could also maybe detect hints of his famous idea that religion is the opiate of the masses. You might have heard that phrase before. It's the idea that religion holds society back and we need to move beyond religion in order to advance it. Yeah, we could read it that way. But on the other hand, Jesus Christ, Carl! Not a good look, my dude. I am not so sure about this one, the chief. These quotes obviously employ that anti-Semitic stereotype of the greedy, money-grubbing Jew. Remember how we've already seen that trying to find out who is an anti-Semite in their hearts isn't really all that useful? I think we could maybe apply that to Karl Marx here. I mean, he's already been cancelled by bronchitis. And despite his anti-Semitism, there are a lot of Jewish socialists, including Karl Marx. So how do we explain this? What is Marx's anti-Semitism doing? Is it just socialism of fools? And hey, Karl can be a fool sometimes? Maybe. But in addition to the problems we mentioned with Arendt,
Once again, you're undermining your own ideas here. Once again, you're just undermining us. Like, okay, socialism of fools, and then you keep bringing up these folks who just just BTFO your argument, and you don't talk about the history of Israel. You don't mention. Okay, go ahead.
that anti-Semitism is just people not doing socialism good enough gives socialists a convenient pass to go, oh, well, no true socialist would spread anti-Semitism, obviously, so we don't need to think about it. We can just mentally push it over there. But there is definitely anti-Semitism on the left. It's not all secret Nazis or innocent mistakes. I used to work with a lady who was an anti-fascist activist, left-wing as they come, and this was around the time a guy called Owen Smith was challenging Jeremy Corbyn for leader of the Labour Party, and this lady thought that Owen Smith wasn't critical enough of the Israeli government. Okay, that's a legit political opinion you can have. You know? We can imagine somebody clearly and specifically saying, this politician says he cares about human rights. The International Criminal Court have said they want to investigate the situation in the West Bank because
ICC, yeah, okay.
they believe that human rights abuses are occurring, but the politician hasn't said anything about it. What's up with that? Unfortunately, the way she chose to express this opinion was by tweeting a picture of Owen Smith with the Star of David over his face.
What can I say, buddy?
For those who don't know the history, the Star of David has long been a symbol of Judaism, and the Nazis forced Jews to wear yellow stars so they could be identified, harassed, and murdered in the street. The Star of David is on the Israeli flag, so I guess I can see where she was coming from, but that is a really messed up way to put it, because it looks like you're saying that Owen Smith is secretly Jewish and should be attacked. Does that woman secretly hate Jews in her heart? Who knows? It's not really about that. But she wasn't just doing socialism wrong. She was a genuine leftist, and she did a bad anti-Semitism. And Jewish socialists have been saying for years that the left does need to take this a little bit more seriously, whilst also saying...
As an Arab Jew, oh wow, okay. The rise of black anti-Semitism, oh boy, here we go.
When it comes to anti-Semitism, the right wing are a lot more deadly about it.
Despite the insistence of Jewish institutions and high-profile centrist Jewish journalists that the threat facing American Jews is coming from both sides, I had no anxiety about a campus
The
BDS
Jewish
activist
high holidays mean waiting for the next synagogue attack. Really?
or Muslim congresswoman walking into
I
the
had no anxiety about a campus BD. Okay.
synagogue and opening fire. The attack I feared, the attack that have already devastated our community and others, is coming from white nationalists who have been emboldened and embraced by the right-wing media. And
Oh boy. Is it? Did I go back in time to 2016? I think time stopped at 2016. I've heard this a lot. I really do. I think that time has stopped since 2016. Okay.
the Republican Party.
So what we're seeing here is lots of different groups of people using Jews and Judaism as a kind of intellectual tool. They want Jews to occupy a particular place in society so that it fits their overall picture of what society should be, whether that's a Catholic picture or a socialist one or a fascist one or whatever. And according to historian David Nirenberg and his book, Anti-Judaism, this is what we see right throughout history. The idea of Judaism, as opposed to actual Jewish people, is a basic concept in Western thought. Different people pick it up and use it to define themselves by showing what they're against. And this is why tackling anti-Semitism can't just be about finding the bad people or trying to do socialism more. We need to incorporate it into a bigger picture of the world.
We soldiers.
Yep. Once again, how are you going to do that? I don't think your intersectionality answers for that as well. I think that if you, anyway, go ahead.
Of the Resistance have all dutifully read Karl Marx, bien sûr. Every night before I go to sleep in my bunker, I read a chapter of the Communist Manifesto, I moisturize my face, and I bludgeon a policeman to death with a baguette. But I know not everyone has a Vive la Revolution tramp stamp, like me, so for the rest of the video, I'm going to be borrowing an idea from a famous liberal thinker called Isaiah Berlin, who was a big critic of Marx. J'aime un défi. Berlin made a famous distinction between positive liberty and negative liberty. Your negative liberty is like a circle around you that nobody can cross. Like, I have freedom of religion. I can worship any god I want, or none, and nobody can...
Oh boy, positivism, and I'm not a huge philosophy dude, but when you bring up positivism in any sort of light, we're talking about cringe. I'm sorry. Whether it's just to make sure that you don't think I'm some wignat or something I don't really care for the idea of positive Christianity. Okay. But when you bring up positivism in any way, and maybe this is a whole different type of thing, but it's cringe. Go ahead.
can interfere because that's inside my circle. And of course, a great many philosophers have argued about exactly how big that circle should be. Positive
Skip
liberty
this.
is how
Let's
much you're
skip
allowed to
ahead here.
change the world. Well, slavery. But now it's supposed to be that people of color can't be enslaved. Like that's inside the circle. No enslaving. But black and minority ethnic people in the UK are more likely to die of coronavirus because they're more likely to be in the low-paid essential jobs.
Sadiq Khan? Hold on. Let's back up.
Expressed through misogyny, but it's not the same thing as misogyny. Misogyny is a personal interaction.
Hold on.
Patriarchy is the state of the world. And we can take this model and apply it to other things. Individual acts of misogyny are expressions of patriarchy. Individual acts of transphobia are expressions of what's called cis-normativity, a system of behaviors, laws, values, and actions that contribute to the world.
Once again, it shows the bias that you have when you're talking about transgenderism. It's not all the same thing. This is one of the falsehoods. You know what? I'll save that rant for this moment. Hold on.
In which trans people have less political and economic control of their lives than cis people. Transphobia is the interaction. Cis-normativity is the state of the world. D'accord? D'accord. White supremacy is a system of laws, behaviors, values, and actions that contribute to a world
Skin in
where
the
white
game.
people have more
Okay,
positive and negative liberties than everyone else. As a system, white supremacy has evolved over time, but it hasn't gone away. It used to be a lot more formal with things like chattel slavery, but now it's supposed to be that people of color can't be enslaved. Like that's inside the circle. No enslaving. But black and minority ethnic people in the UK are more likely to die of coronavirus because they're more likely to be in the low.
Sadiq Khan. Wow. You're really going to use Sadiq Khan as a as a source. Sadiq Khan. Okay.
Paid essential jobs where they get exposed. They get arrested and fined for crimes that do not exist, which is to say they get kidnapped and robbed by police officers who then keep their jobs. The negative liberties are supposed to be the same, but people of color do not enjoy the same positive liberties as white people. And that state of the world is what we call.
Once again, you know, I've heard this from, I can't speak for the UK, but I will speak for the United States. The thing is that black folks get tired of the whole, let's equate gay rights with civil rights. They hate that. Can I just tell you that right now? I've heard enough people like people like Tariq Nasheed. And you take that with a grain of salt, but they hate the idea that they hate intersectionality. They really don't care for the idea, but also the idea that black struggle and gay rights are the same thing. No, I will say it here and now. No, they are not. They are absolutely not the same thing. And it's just. Black folks, melanated people, I'm going to go on that link. Melanated people are going to slam you for doing that. Okay, go ahead.
All white supremacy. I mean, white supremacy is like Doctor Who, okay? It's mainly white guys. Sometimes there's a white lady. Sometimes they let gay people do some of the writing. Sometimes people of color play supporting roles. But it keeps regenerating, is my point. Because ultimately, it's one of Britain's most popular exports. Anti-Semitism does a similar thing to misogyny and transphobia. It reinforces that state of the world, which we call white supremacy. Mais attends une minute. Aren't Jews white? C'est une bonne question. Et la réponse est c'est compliqué. Firstly, some Jewish people are definitely not white. There are black Jewish people, brown Jewish people, Asian Jewish people. The image a lot of people have is white, wealthy intellectuals, but that is also a kind of stereotype. In many countries like the US and UK, a lot of Jewish people are commonly considered to be white and can enjoy some of those tasty positive liberties. It's true. But that wasn't always the case, and it still isn't the case everywhere. Neo-Nazis and other people on the extreme right, the professional white supremacists, if you like, do not consider Jews to be white because they need Jews to explain the world. If you consciously believe that black people are subhuman animals, how do you account for the fact that they contribute massively to humanity and led a civil rights movement? If queer people are just weak degenerates, how come we also do that and look great 24/7? If white people really are the superior race, how do you explain this?
We don't care, yeah.
With you? Well, they're being paid by George Soros, of course. How do you explain that LGBT people have gotten a lot more representation? It's not because we fought for it and our allies genuinely believe the world is better with us in it. Those weak, feminist Jewish men are obviously trying to weaken Western masculinity. No!
So who is it then? And once again, there is a very strong movement that will come about where they don't really care, yeah. I cannot wait for the split between the woke folks who are just like, the woke intersectionalists versus the folks that are like, hey, black folks, we need to do something about this. That split is coming up again. That split is going to come up, and it's going to be ugly. That's all I have to say.
No member of the master race would willingly start a fight outside of Pennsylvania Red Lobster. That would be ridiculous. Obviously, some Jewish person deliberately got her order wrong in order to facilitate white genocide. White supremacists see Jews lurking behind all the problems with the world. That's what anti-Semitism does for them. And it is not a thing from the rest of their beliefs. C'est la colle qui tient le tout. The man who perpetrated the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting in 2018 chose that synagogue specifically because there was a refugee support agency there. For white supremacists like Bowers, left-wing Jewish activists are the hidden masterminds behind immigration, Black Lives Matter, feminism, LGBTQ rights, political correctness, and all the other assorted evils of progressive politics that hinder the creation of their hoped-for white ethno-state. So yes, in the last few decades of Western history, some Jewish people have managed to assimilate and enjoy the liberties of being considered white, just like the Italians and the Irish used to be thought of as not white, but got a pass.
You know what? I get so tired of the Italian and Irish argument. I actually have a book that I hope we'll read. It's about what in the world is it? Basically it's about friendly John Kelly, or honest John Kelly. John Kelly was one of the first the Irish members of Tammany Hall in New York. And I think it'd be interesting to talk about how we could speak on Italians as well, but how the Irish became what they are today, and how they broke into the WASP system, so to speak. I think it's important to realize that. These folks just say, let's not, the Irish and the Italians, didn't used to be seen as white. It says it's a cheap argument because ultimately it's just a talking point. You don't want to dig further. It's the same thing with this historical research. You don't want to look at the historical research and only do surface level stuff. This is why he's a philosopher, and he doesn't want to study about history. Now, of course, in case, I'm brought up and made to define myself, I'm a marketing major. But I think this guy needs to be judged for, go ahead.
Often by participating in violence against black people. But those liberties can be taken away. For this reason, anti-Semitism is sometimes described as cyclical. There are periods of relative Jewish stability and even success, and then it kicks back in. And unlike other forms of prejudice, anti-Semitism starts from the position that Jews have too much and are sneakily exploiting it. So those same liberties can be used as evidence against them. And if that seems weird and contradictory, you already know another group of people who have advantages one way and disadvantages the other. Karens. That's what a Karen is. A white lady who has the disadvantages of living under patriarchy, but the advantages of living under white supremacy, which she uses to keep people of color and LGBT people down. So Sartre was kind of right that anti-Semitism justifies what hardcore white supremacists already want to believe, but it also upholds a system that white people generally benefit from, and which we can, even without meaning to, uphold. That's why all the writers I've been citing stress that we cannot eliminate anti-Semitism without tackling white supremacy. And that is no easy task. Remember the patriarchy example? Tackle
white supremacy. I mean, once again... This guy would be shocked to know about people like Marcus Garvey. They would be shocked to know about people like Kwame Ture, I think. They would be utterly shocked. They may believe them to a point, but I think that they would be, okay, let's finish this up. My goodness.
Tackling patriarchy isn't just about stopping people saying sexist things, although that can be helpful. It's about letting women control their own lives, negative liberties and positive liberties. That means things like equal pay and voting, funding domestic violence shelters, listening to trans women, supporting sex workers' campaigns for decriminalization, listening to indigenous women's criticisms of white police, access to abortion, access to birth control, and most importantly, access to really big shoes. In the same way, to tackle white supremacy.
Oh my goodness, let's bring it back around to the shoe thing. Like, anyone gave a rat's behind about whatever some woman is saying online. Why do you care? Oh my gosh. Right-wing people make fun of Karens too. You act like it's... Oh my God, Lord have mercy. Go ahead.
Of which anti-Semitism is a part, it's not enough to just build a big wall and get a whole lot of guns and go, nobody got to cross my circle. We got to actually let people take control of their lives. That's why we need to realize that it is part of a bigger philosophical picture. C'est tout un combat. The French resistance.
Once again, this is intersectionality once again. It's all one fight. Guess what? People are still going to have their biases and everything else, and that's going to show in how they run things or how they set up a government or whatever the case may be. So your argument for intersectionality is out the window because it doesn't matter. It's never going to happen the way you want it to.
Understood that. As much as our popular image of them is sexy ladies in red lipstick, a lot of the French resistance weren't even French. Many of them were refugees from Armenia, Poland, Italy, recent migrants to France. A lot of them Jews, a lot of them people of color, almost all of them communists.
The thing is that once again, just something that popped in my head. These are the same folk. See, is that what he won't talk about is, of course, the issues he didn't even want to bring up. Once again, it's cherry picking ideas. He could have talked about the stabbings that happened in Muncie, New York. He didn't do that. He could have brought up the issue of Cato, the child's name being Cato, being run over by Rabbi Schneerson back in 1991 and 1992, I want to say. And the driver was sent to Israel, where he wasn't prosecuted. Or, the Hatzalah, or any of these types of things. But they don't bring that up. They don't bring these things up. If it was more balanced, they could do that. But they're not doing that. He's not doing that. So let's continue. Let's finish this fei hua up. This is absolute xiao fei hua.
Et ils sont morts pour la France. Chaque est assassiné non pas des Allemands, mais par la police française. I know these discussions can be very tense and difficult, but fighting anti-Semitism can't be about walking on eggshells or maintaining strategic ignorance. It's got to be about giving people those positive liberties. Les philosophes sont encore des éléments que de dire de cette manière. Il s'agit, cependant, de le changer. Au revoir.
Ugh. Okay. Ugh. All right. That was a lot of crap. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Let's go ahead and exit out of there. Ugh. Okay. So that was a lot of ugh. And as you notice, I was trying to keep pretty silent because that was a hot bit of duty. Once again, this is, hold on. I'm not gonna make y'all watch this. Sorry. There we go. That was a hot bit of duty. Clearly, once again, he has shown that he is a philosopher. He's not a historian.
He says, I've got quackers, I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, let's finish this up right quick. So, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, he is a philosopher. He doesn't want to talk about historical events. He does not want to dig deep. There's a lot of what about stuff. There's a lot of genuine what about isms that could have been brought up that he didn't. It's very sad. And of course, ultimately, what you have to see is what we should be showing this for is the fact that these are folks who are beguiled by pretty colors. They're beguiled by magazine slickness. They're brought in by that sort of thing. And that sort of magazine slickness, this very skin deep level of interest, is very dangerous in my view. I waited for him to talk about Hamas or Hezbollah. They don't talk about those things. You have to remember that they're very careful. They're like, well, Palestine, yeah, but we don't really like Hamas. That's how they are. So we have to put that into perspective. That this is how they act. That how these types of bread tubers act. I think I was pretty careful there. I think I was pretty on point in terms of that. Like I said, this is a long video, and I'll probably just be uploading something else. That way I can try to balance it out. But this is very, very disingenuous, very skin deep, and just to be aware of what influences these people. So if you wonder who influences these people to some, who influences anarchists today to some degree, these are the people that influence it. And you see the amount of of depth of investigation and indeed analysis that they come up with is very skin deep. And I think that needs to be realized. With that, I think I'm going to end. But I appreciate y'all folks hanging in. I'm sorry, Gnome. I know that you're not here, but yeah, it was cringe. It's too much. It was very cringe. He was, but I'm going to keep it there. Anyway, see you later, folks. Have a good night. Okay.